When it comes to independent film distributors nowadays, certainly among the most well-known is A24, and for understandable reasons, as they help bring audiences a wide array of fascinating films of various genres that don't fit into the typical mold. What started off as a scrappy New York company that tried their hardest to compete with the searchlights and focus features when acquiring movies is now working with top filmmakers and releasing highly buzzy titles. What has made A24 stand out? I'm going to explore that today. While not their first release, the film that made them a distributor to watch out for was Corinth's Spring Breakers. This unusual but captivating tale of college girls turning into criminals over spring break is hardly what I would call a commercial movie. It's absolutely an acquired taste, and while I was able to get into this bonkers comedy, others hated it for completely valid reasons. With a director who never made a movie that grossed more than $400,000 and released by a then no-name distributor, conventional wisdom made it clear it would not make much. And yet, thanks to a smart marketing campaign that highlighted the casting of Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens departing from their Disney Channel images, Spring Breakers took in about $31 million at box office. And this would not be the last time A24 would find clever ways to bring non-mainstream films to wide audience attention. The sorts of projects that seemed to attract the interest of A24 were movies with unconventional plots and usually a well-known actor in the lead role to help sell the film, like Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hardy, and Robert Pattinson. It did not matter if the movie was too unusual or bizarre. They would buy it and try to figure out some way to advertise it, whether it was Kevin Smith's horror comedy Tusk or David Michôd's dystopian drama The Rover. A24 eventually started releasing even more prestigious films of Oscar buzz, like J.C. Chandor's gangster film A Most Violent Year, and Noah Baumbach's latest portrait of a dysfunctional couple in While We're Young. One of those early attention-grabbing movies was the science fiction film Ex Machina. With its unique tone and depiction of artificial intelligence, Ex Machina made really good use of its location, cast, and thought-provoking themes. There was also Room, the first A24 release to be nominated for Best Picture. Depicting a woman and her child who had been held captive for years by a kidnapper, Room was highlighted by strong performances from Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay, and did a good job of handling the difficult subject matter. One area A24 has made a name for themselves in is horror films. They have shown a particular interest in slow burn horror that may receive an understandable divisive reaction from viewers, but we need a distributor who is willing to champion them. A24's support of horror films like the period set The Witch and the twisted family drama of Hereditary helped launch the movie careers of talented directors Robert Eggers and Ari Aster respectively. They even released their follow-up projects The Lighthouse and Midsummer. The movie that really catapulted A24 was Barry Jenkins' Moonlight, which won the Oscar for Best Picture. This was a massive surprise, especially since it wasn't originally announced as the winner, but it showed how Academy voters have started shifting younger and are now more willing to honor more unconventional films than what typically takes home Hollywood's most coveted award. Moonlight was a sincere portrait of a young man growing up in Miami, and is also notable for being A24's first in-house production, as opposed to a film they picked up as a distributor. A24 also seems to have a lot of fondness for directors' personal projects that seek to show a realistic portrayal of teenage and childhood. They released Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird, Jonah Hill's mid-90s, and one of my favorite releases of theirs, Bo Burnham's 8th Grade. With that film, Burnham managed to capture the awkwardness that comes from being 13 and the trickiness of growing up, nobly highlighting how social media has changed things for the current generation. Another favorite of mine is The Florida Project, directed by Sean Baker. This movie did a lovely job of portraying the life of lower-class families in Florida and what it's like for those children living near Walt Disney World but who can't afford to go. I thought it was a very touching film that was able to be sympathetic towards its characters and features Willem Dafoe in one of his best performances. Another notable A24 release was Lulu Wang's The Farewell, starring Awkwafina as a Chinese-American woman trying to understand the local traditions of her family. Inspired by Wang's own experience of coping with her grandmother's illness, the film really showed Awkwafina's depth as a dramatic actress. Then there was Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler as a jeweler with a gambling addiction that gets more nerve-wracking the longer it goes on. It's neither a horror nor a suspense movie, but certainly ranks among the most tense films I've seen in recent years. A24 scored their latest Best Picture nomination earlier this year for the touching drama Minari, another film inspired by the director's youth. Lee Isaac Chung did a lovely job of portraying his Korean family's time on a farm in Arkansas. The movie was able to mix drama with humor as we see the difficulties that arise and the relationship that develops between the young David and his grandmother, played in a wonderful performance by Yoon Yoo-jung. While A24 does release most of their movies, they did recently sign a deal with Apple to help bring a few of their films to a wider audience. One of the movies made under this partnership was Sofia Coppola's On the Rocks. Led by great performances from Rashida Jones and Bill Murray, the movie served as a thoughtful comedy about a woman questioning whether her husband is being faithful. The next A24 Apple TV collaboration will be Joe Coen's adaptation of William Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth, starring Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand as the plotting lord and lady. The first film he's made without his brother Ethan, I'm curious to see how that turns out. And coming soon from A24 will be new films from Ari Aster, Alex Garland, and Kelly Reichardt, among several others. I don't know too much about the upcoming projects, although Aster's Disappointment Boulevard intrigues me the most. While I do really admire the work of A24, there is a cult of personality from cinephiles who revere them as the best when it comes to independent cinema today, and nobody comes close. And I don't think that's fair to the several great indie distributors out there, as Annapurna Pictures, Neon, Roadside Attractions, and Bleecker Street also put out worthwhile films. Not to mention subsidiaries of major studios like Focus Features, Sony Pictures Classics, and Searchlight Pictures, plus the smaller films streamers like Netflix have picked up. And unlike some of those other companies, A24 has a major blind spot when it comes to animated films, as they've released none of them. What I'm saying is, it's a great time to be a fan of independent films, and A24 has definitely been doing their part to make sure we don't miss out on some good ones. See you next time.